Hey YouTube, what's going on, and welcome back to Klarus Things. Today we're going to be looking at an offering from Klarus, the FlatTac X1. Let's get started with the dimensions on this light. I'll throw those up on the side of the screen. And while we're taking a look at that, let's look at some comparisons here. I have the Olight Arcfeld Pro. Let's line these up here. And you can see the Klarus is pretty long. I don't have a Nitecore EDC to compare this to, but that's what it's going to be closest to as far as the ED27 in size and just overall design. But so we're quite a bit longer there. The Olight is a bit thicker. And you'll see as far as the width on it, the Klarus is just a little bit wider. So that's with the Olight. I've got one other here. This is the Trustfire Mini X7. I actually just got this in, so I'll have a review up for this in a couple weeks. And so let's compare here. All right. Klarus, significantly longer yet again. You can see, man, this Trustfire is way thicker. And on the width there, the Klarus is just slightly thinner, it looks like. So that is next to the Trustfire Mini X7. All right, let's talk about the design of this flashlight. So it looks very similar to the Nitecore EDC series, especially I believe it's the 27. Similar design, but if you really look at them, even though they are similar, there's a lot that's still different. This does come with the OLED display. We've got a 2-button layout on the top. Everything is controlled via these 2 buttons. We've got a pocket clip and LEDs there on the bottom. So the pocket clip you'll see is located around the middle of the light. Initially, I was a little bit bummed out about that because it leaves that much of the flashlight sticking out of your pocket. However, with how long this is, I've noticed that even with where this is at, with this much of it in your pocket, when I sit down, I kind of feel about this much of it rubbing against my thigh, and I'm not a big fan of that. I'm used to doing a bit shorter on the flat style flashlights, so this is quite long. So I realized if they move that clip up, there would be a lot of this digging into my leg and probably others as well. So that's probably about the highest they could go on this. It is a pretty good clip though. It's got pretty good retention. You'll see it's curved at the top and it is screwed in. So it's a good durable clip. It's just a little odd on the placement, but I kind of get it based on the length of this light. We do have USB-C flap here. Get that open. So there's our charging port hidden behind this flap. All good there. And overall, the design on this, you can see the side does have some texture on it. I'll say in comparison to the Nitecore, I think that the Nitecore has a little bit better of a grip on the sides, whereas this really, it almost feels a bit more aesthetic. I mean, I feel it there, but it doesn't feel like it locks my fingers in at all, really, when I've got my hand in this motion. We do have some nice little grooves there, which your fingers can actually slide up to. But overall, pretty nice design. I do like it. We've got some ceramic beads here on the bezel, so that's pretty cool. I mean, this is intended to be a tactical series light. Whether you actually consider it to be tactical or not, that'll be up to you. But I do like having these little beads. They're not really intrusive. They're not aggressive in your pocket, but they're there, I guess, if you had to break a window or something. Double LEDs on there. Overall, I mean, I'd say it is a similar design to the Nitecore EDC series. However, it's not exactly the same, and you'll see it's definitely different as far as the user interface as well. I don't think the Nitecore has beads either, so that's pretty cool. I personally like this a little bit better, and one reason is because there's a lot of people that when the EDC series first came out, there was quality control issues, and a lot of people, when they would try to get those quality control issues handled, Nitecore was not taking care of them. And so that right away, like, even though they've released a number of different ones, they have the 27, the 29, I can't even remember off the top of my head what all models there are in the EDC series. I just can't bring myself to buy one considering how many people had issues with them. And it'd be one thing if the company took care of those people, but too many people came back and reported that the company basically told them, sorry, can't help you. So I don't know, maybe that's changed now. But as far as, a year or 2 years ago, whenever it was that they started coming out with those, that kind of lost my interest. So I was glad to see something come on the market that's a bit similar, but still unique in its own way, and from a brand that I like. Let's look at the LEDs here. So I'm going to take this off of lock mode, and we'll get into user interface here in a moment. All right, you can see that's pretty bright. That's turbo. And of course, we'll look at these outside as well for some beam shots. But what we're working with there is SST 70s. So you've got two of them. I've seen a lot of people complain online about, lights like the arc feld and other things like that have the laser and UV light and all these features. And they're saying, I just want good quality LEDs. Well, this doesn't have all the extra features. This is just running double LEDs. So if that's your thing, this might be something you do like. Two SST 70s. SST 70, I think are really, really nice as far as the beam profile. It's not what I would choose for this light though. Personally, I think they should have gone with something more like an SFT 70 or SFT 40 so that it could give it more candela, higher throw. Whereas you'll see with this, it does get extremely bright with those double SST 70s, but you're not getting a high candela what you would out of an SFT. So I don't know if I would choose those for a light that I'm considering a TAC light, a tactical light. But regardless, as far as this just being an EDC light, SST 70s are quite nice. And they come out kind of a mix between flood and throw. I would say almost even a little bit more on the flood side in this design of this light. So pretty nice there, running two SST 70s. But again, I would recommend the company would go SFT 70. All right, let's look at the user interface. So first I'll show you this card. So if you want to pause it here, you can look at everything. We probably won't cover every specific thing on there. We'll just go over the basics here. So we're working with two buttons. This is your auxiliary button and then your main button. And so what I really like is that I can single click and go straight into moonlight mode. That is actually a mode that you cannot get from your standard cycle of memory modes or whatever, your single outputs from the main button here. You can only get moonlight from there. So a single click. Also, you can get straight to turbo with a double click. There we go. And it actually gives you a timer. And I know it doesn't show up well on camera. For some reason, the screen likes to flash it out, but it doesn't look like that in person. It gives you a timer to let you know how long that turbo can actually run for before it steps down. So you've got moonlight and turbo direct to right there. You can also hold for strobe. And if you let go, it'll still keep going. I can single click the main button while it's off to get my current power level. So you'll see I'm at 4 out of 5 batteries, so I'm probably around 80%. All right, for the main button here, if we double click it, it'll take us into high mode. So you'll see it shows us our level, shows us the battery left. It goes off after a second. Let's try that again. And it shows us the lumens. But single click here, I can run through, so 1200, 200, 65, and back to high. So that means you can access 4 different modes, and I can hold to turn that off, but you're not going to be able to get into the turbo or moonlight without without single clicking in there, double clicking the red light for there. And so yeah, that's pretty much the user interface. There is some little bit of extra stuff. Like I said, you can go back to that card that I pulled up. But for the most part, that's it. A lot of people I've seen have complained about the user interface because it's different. I kind of like it because being able to get straight into Moonlight Turbo off its own separate button and then having everything else off the main button, I kind of like that. But I will give you guys a heads up. I was talking to one of the reps over at Klarus, and they said they're working on a model of the Klarus FlatTac that's going to come out with a new user interface. So if this user interface isn't for you, but you like this light, I would say stay tuned because it sounds like they're going to make some adjustments. But for me, I would buy it as is just because I do like this user interface a bit. Let's take this outside and look at some beam shots. All right, now that we're back inside, hopefully you could see that this does perform pretty well. It's got some really high brightness on that turbo mode for sure, but as you can see that it's not just a very narrow beam, what you'd get out of a normal tactical style flashlight. It's more of a mixed beam, almost a little bit more floody even. So take that as you will. This is a little bit better as far as EDC. But if you're wanting something with high candela, this might not be it, at least not in this variation. Maybe they'll come out with another variation for SFT or something like that. Overall, though, very similar to the Nitecore EDC series. I personally think the customer service and quality control is going to be better out of Klarus, and I just like this design a little bit better. I do like that they kept it simple and went with a double LED output. They went with the ceramic beads, and it does come with a little feature that lets you know when you're too close. Let me unlock this real quick, and I can't remember if I said it or not, but you can unlock via 3 clicks on the red button here. So if I turn this on, I put my hand near it. See where it says near? It'll let you know when something is too close. So that's pretty cool. It's got a near or a proximity sensor on there. So nice design overall. A little bit long for what I would normally go for, but if you're used to this kind of thing with the Nitecore series, or you just don't mind, I'd say definitely give this a shot. Very, very thin, so you're not going to feel something like this, for example, is going to feel quite thick in your pocket. So I would rather carry this Klarus in my pocket than this, just based on size alone. But overall, I do really like this. I can see where it might not be some people's cup of tea, but overall, pretty nice light. I've been carrying it quite a bit. It is pretty fun to use. I've shown some people in person, and they've liked it as well. So I do recommend it. Give it a shot. Klarus FlatTac X1. I'll throw a link in the description. That'll include the price and all that. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great week.